Hello everyone and welcome to May B&B 724 YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video thumbs up. Steffy makes a mistake. Did she just need a picture? Steffy Forrester is terrified and anxious about her stepdaughter Luna Nozawa on Bold and the Beautiful, but she fails miserably this week on the CBS soap opera. Brave and lovely, Steffy Forrester is constantly thinking about Luna. Steffy Forrester on Bold and the Beautiful is exhausted from worrying about Luna Nozawa this week. She described to her mother, Taylor Hayes, how the mere prospect of Luna being close to her family paralyzes her with anxiety. One of Steffy's concerns is that Luna might run across Hayes Forrester Finnegan. However, Steffy is grateful that Finn was able to keep Luna away from Hayes when she unexpectedly returned to their house. Steffy has spent a lot of time on Bold and the Beautiful addressing her worries about Luna. Due to Luna's apparent obsession with Hayes being her brother, Steffy is particularly focused in him. She has stated on a few occasions that her children are her first concern. Sheila attacks Luna for wicked Hayes stunt in Bold and the Beautiful. Soap dirt. B&B. All safeguards except one are covered by Steffy. Numerous characters in Bold and the Beautiful discuss Luna. To prevent her from infiltrating the family, they caution one another to exercise extreme caution. That hasn't done much to keep Luna away thus far. However, Finn feels that it was successful when he gave Luna a firm and icy warning not to circle back. Steffy concedes with Finn that denying Luna access the previous time she appeared should prevent her from returning. But does Steffy think that's true? The Forrester daughter appears to be more anxious than ever about Luna's next move. So why did Steffy overlook one crucial component despite their extreme caution? Bold and the Beautiful. Serious error on the verge of endangering Hayes? Bill Spencer owns the Spencer Beach House, where Hayes Forrester goes every day to summer camp. Hayes Preschool receives the use of the house thanks to a donation from Liam Spencer's father, Bill. After the preschool's old home was destroyed by fire, the school required a temporary facility. Hayes spends hours at that preschool summer camp without his parents. All of the children have a single teacher, and that is the extent of the supervision. Therefore, why wouldn't Steffy inform the teacher about Luna in case she appeared, as she does? She only needed to show the instructor a photo of Luna, ask her to keep Hayes away from her, and get in touch with them right away if she appeared. However, because Steffy made a mistake, Luna was invited to perform as a guest artist for the children and was able to stay without causing any problems. When Hayes turns and leaves, Luna's expression is hardly that of a devoted sister. This small child has all the affection in the world from their shared father, and she is envious of him. Additionally, Finn only shows Luna coldness. According to previews for Bold and the Beautiful, she is plotting something terrible with Hayes Forrester in her mind. Additionally, Luna Nozawa on the CBS soap opera had it easy because Steffy Forrester made a mistake by failing to notify the preschool teacher. Steffy's Daphne decision endangers Hope Truce. According to Thursday, June 19 spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, a meeting will begin at Forrester Creations, but it won't go as planned, at least not from Hope Logan's point of view. When Steffy Forrester discloses that she wants to bring Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles, Hope will be taken by surprise. Forrester loved Daphne's scents, so Steffy might have some new perfume projects in mind that call for Daphne to return to Los Angeles. Furthermore, Steffy dislikes Daphne's sudden hasty return to Paris and views her as a friend. Steffy will rely on Hope to act professionally even though she may admit that Hope and Daphne have some problems. In Thursday's episode, Hope will raise some concerns, but Steffy will dismiss them and maintain her belief that this is a fantastic plan. There will undoubtedly be conflict in Hope and Carter Walton's relationship if Steffy's plan succeeds and Daphne returns to Los Angeles. Despite Carter and Hope's recent engagement, this Daphne news could cause trouble and jeopardize their wedding plans. Meanwhile, according to B&B teasers, Brooke Logan will talk to Katie Logan about Nick Marone's visit and their shared smooches. Katie will receive updates on Nick's recollections and how he encouraged Brooke to consider that he, rather than Ridge Forrester, might be her fate. Katie will naturally want to hear Brooke's thoughts on Nick unexpectedly turning up and making love with her. Brooke could agree that it was pleasant to have a decent, attractive man who was solely interested in her for once. Since he and Taylor Hayes are back together, It's obvious that Ridge hasn't been paying any attention to Brooke. Ridge, however, reacted strongly when Nick sniffed around Brooke once more. Brooke may have another hope for a reunion with Ridge because it appears that she is feeling some envy. In any event, Katie will share her opinions about Nick making a comeback and the person she believes Brooke should be with. Will Katie believe that Brooke would be better off waiting for Ridge to change his mind or moving on? According to teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke will have a lot to learn. Knowing that Finn cannot keep her safe, Steffy begs Liam to receive treatment. The Forrester family will learn how deadly Luna Nozawa truly is this week on The Bold and the Beautiful. Now that she is aware of how serious the situation is, Steffy Forrester may be motivated to ask her dying ex-husband Liam Spencer for something startling. Here are some spoilers for what will happen next on Bold and Beautiful. Hayes and Steffy are now in danger. B&B spoilers indicate that Luna will target her younger brother, Hayes Forrester Finnegan. Steffy will begin to question her marriage to Dr. John Finnegan now that her own son is a target and could be abducted by the end of the week. Although Finn has repeatedly shown himself to be a reliable person, the truth is that Steffy wouldn't require rescue if she weren't married to the good doctor. Queen Steffy has often been subjected to abuse and danger by Finn's own birth mother and biological daughter. Will Finn pick his wife or his daughter to die in a battle if he just has a moment to make that decision? Could Steffy lose her life as a result of his second thoughts? Liam's reversal of attitude. Liam Spencer is near death, and it appears that everyone has come to terms with the idea that he intends to die from his tumor and will not seek treatment. Steffy will most likely ask Liam to have chemo when she understands that Finn won't be able to keep her safe from his crazy family indefinitely. For some time, B&B spoilers have suggested that Liam may suddenly alter his mind and choose to save himself by going to chemotherapy. Maybe he changed his mind because he needs to defend Steffy and Kelly, and Finn isn't doing it anymore. Although Steffy Forrester has always taken great pride in her fierceness, vigilance, and ferocious maternality, this week on The Bold and the Beautiful, her otherwise impenetrable armor started to reveal signs of weakness, and the results might be disastrous. Even though she has been watching Hayes breathe in his sleep, worrying about Luna Nozawa ever seeing her naive son, whispering warnings to Taylor Hayes over wine and anxiety, and having heated private conversations with Finn in which the two of them attempted to put on a united front, she made a grave mistake that could potentially jeopardize Hayes' safety. The storm of Steffy's developing paranoia, her battle with Hope Logan over creative control at Forrester, and the ominous prospect that Finn's biological family, which had always loomed like a storm cloud on the rim of her idyllic life, might finally bring down devastation once more overshadowed what should have been a straightforward act. One photograph, shown to the right person. Nevertheless, despite her infatuation with protecting Hayes from Luna's increasingly unpredictable actions, her unwelcome visitors, her incessant claims to be Hayes' sister, and her pacing glares through tearful, envious eyes, Steffy neglected the most basic and preventative precaution, warning the preschool staff at the makeshift summer camp at Bill Spencer's beach house. It was an omission that sprang not from a lack of effort, but rather from a sense of superiority, a conviction that strong words or gritted teeth would be sufficient to keep the wolves at bay. However, Luna Nozawa was evolving into something much more deadly than a forlorn child longing for family. She felt she had been mistreated, abandoned, and neglected, and that Hayes represented all she had been denied. Luna's heart hardened with every step she took towards insanity, with the memory of Finn's clinical, cold rejection still ringing in her head. Eventually, she arrived at Hayes Preschool not as a stranger but as a welcomed guest artist, working covertly, with paints, smiles, and gentle whispers for the boy who had her father's eyes. Since Steffy hadn't showed her a picture, the instructor, who was not aware of the explosive keg in the playroom, had no reason to suspect anything. Just one image. One caution. That was all that was required to establish a line of defense between Hayes and Luna. But Steffy, preoccupied with her business conflicts and her most recent scheme to lure Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles, never called. The same Steffy who cautioned everyone in her vicinity to keep Luna out did not succeed in keeping Luna out of Hayes's most vulnerable area, which was away from his parents and under the supervision of a single teacher preoccupied with paints and sunscreen. And the repercussions of Steffi's mistake started to become apparent as Luna knelt next to Hayes, her eyes full of grief and jealousy rather than sisterly affection. Hayes was not a kid to Luna. Rather, he represented her rejection, which transformed her love into something else entirely. Chaos was brewing on all fronts around town in the meanwhile. Steffi's insistence on bringing Daphne Rose back to Los Angeles at Forrester Creations caused Hope Logan to lose her mind. Everyone understood the true motivation was deeper, even though Steffy acted as though the choice was solely business-related, pointing to Daphne's perfume line as a huge success. Hope's tenuous engagement to Carter Walton would be strained if Daphne returned because her absence to Paris had left unresolved emotional matters. What about Steffy? She was aware of it. She dismissed Hope's concerns with a smile, masking her competitive nature in the language of cooperation. Hope's own love future was on the verge of collapse, and she was already too shaken by Nick Marone's return to her mother's life to concentrate on fashion predictions. Brooke had just told Katie that she had been kissed by Nick, and even worse, that she enjoyed it. Ridge's envious response to Nick's return only served to fuel Brooke's waning allegiance. She thought about whether Ridge was really her destiny or just a habit that was too difficult to break in one breath, and then she relived the love she had previously enjoyed with Nick in the next. As usual, caught in the middle, Katie attempted to be the voice of reason, but something that looked alarmingly like hope gleamed in Brooke's eyes. And that hope, that old yearning, wasn't just for Ridge, it was also for a past version of herself, when Nick gave her a sense of belonging, adoration, and visibility. However, Ridge was also busy since there were other people attacking Steffy's family back in Malibu besides Luna. Long a presence in Finn's life, Sheila Carter had noticed Luna's unpredictable actions and wasn't happy. Even Sheila, who suffered from her own perverted kind of parental pride, recognized that Luna's actions were almost inexcusable. The tension reached a breaking point when Sheila started to follow the preschool beach house's perimeter while keeping a wary eye on Luna. Even Sheila, who could be the only person more deadly than Luna, was alarmed by what she saw in her granddaughter. Nevertheless, she encountered anger when she tried to step in. "Avoid me at all costs." When Sheila questioned Luna about her attendance to Hayes summer camp, Luna yelled. Sheila didn't give up, though. It frightened her to see a darkness rising in Luna, a darkness very unlike her own. Steffy, however, continued to spiral after learning that Luna had become close to Hayes and became overwhelmed by guilt and rage. Her voice shaking with a mix of panic and wrath, she barged into the preschool and demanded answers from the confused teacher. "How could you have allowed this to occur?" she yelled, but the solution was obvious. She never provided the teacher with the means to put an end to it. Steffy did something unexpected when her world fell apart. She went to Liam Spencer. She was once in love with a dying man who refused to have treatment for a tumor he thought would kill him shortly. Steffy, crushed and terrified, pleaded with him to re-evaluate chemotherapy, not for her, not even for himself, but for Kelly and Hayes. But desperation produces strange bedfellows. Her voice was barely audible above the waves outside Liam's door as she muttered, "Finn can't protect us anymore. I need you. They need you." Liam felt moved by the plea, and for the first time in weeks, he contemplated fighting. He was afraid of leaving his kids vulnerable to the mayhem that was Luna and Sheila, not because he was afraid of dying. Finn battled his personal issues across town. Even worse, he saw that Steffy's confidence in him was eroding. Could he keep his daughter away from his wife? Would he be able to shield Hayes from the family he never requested to be born into? If he had to choose between Steffy and Luna, could he make the call? The notion ripped him apart, and Steffy could see that hesitancy, that lapse in resolve, as she suddenly stopped viewing her husband as her shield and instead regarded him as an additional risk. Luna, who had previously only desired love, now only desired retribution as a result of all of this. She vowed to take something from Steffy in the same way that Steffy took everything from her after witnessing Hayes grin at the teacher with the purity of a lad untarnished by suffering. And Steffy, who had before written Luna off as a wayward young lady, now recognized her as a fierce woman. Nevertheless, Steffi had made the deadly mistake of underestimating her in spite of every warning, instinct, and conversation. Just one picture. It would have only required that. Only one. However, she made a mistake. Steffi Forrester was plagued by a persistent sense that something was seriously amiss. Her mind, which was often a stronghold of control and strength, had devolved into a raging storm of suspicion, worry, and crushing dread, all directed at one individual, Luna Nozawa. This was more than a fleeting fear. It had a visceral quality. In silent moments, it seized her bones and caused her to tremble, the kind of fear that feels like a stone in your gut. Something inside Steffi flinched the minute Luna entered their life. When she attempted to speak with Ridge, she was received with concern disguised as patience, and she was unable to convey it to Finn without coming across as insane. Even Taylor, the omniscient psychiatrist, had her concerns, but she was aware that her daughter's intuition was usually correct. Steffi's maternal gut was now yelling. She had seen Luna gradually approach her family's inner circle, usually smiling and having a kind demeanor, but something wasn't quite right. Steffi noticed a disguised disdain that lurked behind Luna's eyes on multiple occasions when no one else was there. It was subtle but piercing. Despite being aware of this, Steffi made a disastrous mistake. The chilling truth of what Steffi missed hit her like shattered glass this week on Bold and the Beautiful. It wasn't a spectacular encounter or any big discovery. No, it was a picture, something incredibly basic. Only one picture. She only needed that. Late one night, it was received anonymously and was in her phone gallery. She initially disregarded it, thinking it was spam or even a misdirected text. She was taken aback, however, as her finger moved over the thumbnail and it suddenly appeared in full view. Her whole body froze. The photograph, which was taken from behind, was a little hazy but clearly showed Hayes, her son, and Luna strolling hand in hand through a park. They were by themselves. No nannies. Not a guard. No, Finn. Hayes and Luna alone, with no supervision at all. 2 days ago, at the precise moment Steffi believed Hayes was with Amelia, the timestamp was recorded. Her stomach churned. How could she have overlooked this? Without her knowledge, how had Luna, of all people, gained access to her child? Steffi's mind descended into a haze of remorse and rage. She hadn't seen the subtle manipulation because she had been too preoccupied with business at Forrester Creations, juggling press events and shareholder demands. Luna had been ingrained in RJ's life, her house, and her child's daily routine. She had won over Finn, the nannies, and the crew. She had persuaded everyone that she was reliable. Furthermore, despite repeatedly expressing her unease, Steffi never took meaningful action. Luna was allowed to stay. She gave permission. She reasoned that perhaps, just possibly, her worries were unfounded. Now, however, the picture spoke for itself. There was no paranoia here. This was not a projection. Steffi had permitted the fact that Luna had gone too far. Steffi hurried to confront her longtime nanny, Amelia, who stumbled through an incoherent explanation. Luna graciously volunteered to take Hayes for the afternoon when she feigned to be ill and texted her for assistance. However, why hadn't Amelia told Steffi? Why hadn't Luna? Steffi felt his blood boil. She then discovered another picture, this time on social media, concealed in a friend's tagged image of a local event, as though the universe were mocking her. Luna was kneeling behind Hayes in the backdrop, holding a balloon and grinning at him, clutching his toy elephant as if it were the only familiar object amid a sea of strangers. Hayes appeared perplexed, almost uncertain. It was like a kick to Steffi's stomach. That night, Steffi sat by herself in the living room, staring at the fireplace, the flickering light creating long shadows on the walls. Her kid had been out in the world with someone she didn't trust, someone who may be dangerous, and she hadn't even realized it. Hayes was sleeping upstairs while Finn worked late at the hospital. She held the picture tightly, as if it were a weapon. It was, in many respects. Her feeling of power had been destroyed by this one picture, which also revealed her greatest fear, that she wasn't doing enough to safeguard her family. Sensing that something was off, Taylor dropped by, and Steffi eventually opened up, The floods began to flow. She informed her mother about the picture, her anxieties, and the occasion she disregarded her own intuition in order to prevent confrontation, all while sobbing uncontrollably. As she listened, Taylor's face became white. "You were aware," she muttered. "You have been aware for months." Steffy gave a slow nod. "And I did nothing."